I remember about 2004, 2005, you and I were on the same press trip to
It was to Yellowstone.
Yellowstone National Park.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful trip.
Yeah.
We covered a huge amount. It's an enormous national park.
Yes.
And I don't do nearly as much travel writing as you do, but I do enjoy it very much. However, whenever I talk to people about what I do for my job, they say, boy, travel writing, that's my dream job. Everybody seems to think that it's, you know, a 365-day party at the most exotic places all over the world. But I found that it's very challenging work. You've got a limited amount of time, and you have to cover as much of the area as possible. Now, since you do so much photography, you have twice as much work to do. You have to get the Yellowstone shot with the right lighting at the right time of day. So can you talk a little bit about what a travel writer does and how you do a good job serving the reader?
Well, I think of a travel writer as a kind of a scout in the sense of the Old West. You know, you go out, you explore the territory for the wagon train coming, etc. And I love to do that. So our Yellowstone trip, for example, was a chance for me to go out and look at the territory again and to get new content. We'd just gone through a firescape there. You know, there had been a big forest fire. That was new. The return of the wolf to Yellowstone was new. That was interesting information to get. You have to do the article, you have to do the book, you have to process the photography, you have to find the market for all this if you're going to stay in business. And some of us still have to make a profit. And so it's a long process. And I would say the key to it is that you have to, as a travel writer, know a subject that you love. I mean, you have to want to focus on a subject that you love, and for me, like Northern California is my biggest single subject. And then you have to want to give service to people. I mean, you have to want to take their questions. You have to want to do it. You have to love studying things. I love studying things and getting it up.
How much feedback do you get from travelers who've used your information?
Well, I get quite a bit. I have a very active website, fostertravel.com, and people go on there, they leave questions, they leave comments, and that's one of my dialogue points with people. And to be respectful of the question and to want to be of service is a critical part of doing this with some longevity, I think.
Having traveled to most points on the globe, do you have a favorite experience or like a most exotic destination? I remember I went to the Palauan Islands in Micronesia one time, and I couldn't believe that planet Earth looked like that. I felt like I was on a totally different planet.
The experiences that I love most are the great nature experiences out there. Like our Yellowstone experience, going to Yellowstone, and I've gone back, for example, in the winter to see the elk herd, 5,000 elk just south of Yellowstone on the plains there. In a parallel sense, I've gone to Kenya to see the great herds in Kenya. I've gone to the Galapagos to see the tremendous amount of fauna that is not afraid of you. I've gone to Denali in Alaska to see the wonderful mountain. And I think going out to those great nature experiences, you know, one of which we shared together, is perhaps my most satisfying single rationale for my behavior.
And isn't it wonderful to see wherever you are in the world, there's some aspect of nature that's unique and takes the sunset light in a perfect way?
It is. And, you know, the irony is that the more I see of the world, the more I love Northern California.
Interesting, yeah.
And the beauty of Northern California and how well we've preserved it relative to other places in the world continues to excite me. And as I look into the future, I might do fewer Palaus and more Northern California, really.
Interesting. Do you have some favorite spots in Berkeley or the west side of the East Bay on the other side of the Caldecott Tunnel that you can recommend to people that live here in Walnut Creek and Alamo and Danville?
I just spent a lot of time this spring looking at great wildflower places in Northern California and driving in on Monte Diablo from the north side and spending a day going over the mountain, coming out the south side. I really enjoyed that. The poppies and the wild turkeys that I saw, and then going up to the very top to get the view. That was wonderful. And then in my own area, probably in Berkeley, I would have a certain bias to something 3 blocks from where I live in the gourmet ghetto of North Shattuck. I really enjoy living in that North Berkeley area, and I might send someone to Taste of the Himalayas restaurant to get a little Tibetan curry food, for example, on Shattuck Avenue. So I have my favorites in that area. And then from a nature point of view, I like to go out to the Cesar Chavez Park on the bay, which is a wonderful example of what we do here in Northern California. 30 years ago it was a dump, literally, in a landfill, and it's now a park. It's a beautiful bayfront walking area. I mean, if over in Walnut Creek you get feeling a little too landlocked, you can get a view of the water over at that Cesar Chavez Park. And I've often enjoyed walking around that Cesar Chavez Park and watching the kite flyers and so forth.
But since we're also here in the Walnut Creek Library, I'd like to talk to you about the importance of public libraries. And first off, growing up in Minnesota, did you have a favorite library that you went to as a kid?
Well, yes, and this is a good illustration of the role of the library. We had a wonderful Carnegie library in our town. And this Carnegie donated a lot of money at a certain time. It was a good example of, gifted donorship at a critical time. And as a result, this town that I was in had a beautiful library. It was a kind of a palace of the word. And it was a place of wonder. And I got a tremendous sense of adventure going there. I enjoyed going there. I enjoyed the books that were available in the stacks. Access was important. And I think this helped animate me into loving to read and then thinking of creating books in the future. So the library was very much an inspiration to me. And I see libraries today, like this beautiful new library that we're in, as really important, egalitarian forces in our society. I mean, the library is for everyone. It provides access for everyone to the great world beyond intellectually. Costs are not an issue. Race is not an issue. Class is not an issue. It's something for everyone. So I've always been very fond of libraries because of my original experience of them, and then seeing palaces like this. And in my travels, one of the fascinating places I saw was the new Library of Alexandria in Egypt. And the decor of the library is all the alphabets of the world, the letters of all the alphabets of the world. And you get a sense of the library as the wonder machine where the words are collected, the alphabets are collected, the whole repository of content is collected, and so
that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, Lee, thank you so much for the work that you do documenting nature and informing travelers about the best way to appreciate their travels. I think it's really wonderful work, and I'm glad that you enjoy doing it. It's fun to read about your work, and thank you for sharing this experience on Get Lit. I hope that viewers will tune in to future editions of Get Lit and meet more local authors like Lee Foster, the Berkeley-based travel writer and photographer that we've spent today's show with. Thanks very much for watching. Tune into the next episode of Get Lit.